Greetings and welcome to Disrupt Your Day Season 2, Emerging Business Culture with Petula Sankarsingh. I am the CEO and founder of VisionReady. Season 2 brings you a powerful lineup of women who dare to be change makers and disrupt your day. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. This is Disrupt Your Day, Season 2, Emerging Business Culture. I am Petula Sankarsingh, and I am excited to introduce our guest today, Tammy, coming all the way from Alberta, zooming in all the way from Alberta, Canada. I wish this was done in person, but we are excited to speak to her today, learn more about who she is and what juicy information she brings to us today. Hi, Tammy. How are you?
We are doing very well, Petula. How about you?
I'm doing good. Can't complain.
Well, you can't complain, but nobody's going to listen, or they're just going to feel the same way you do. So it's kind of it's a moot point.
Right. So Tammy, I know we spoke about touching on areas of mindset, and when it comes to inclusion, diversity, gender, talk on finance, money, mindset is taboo, and just people in general. So share with us your thoughts on those topics.
Okay. Well, that's an awful lot of topics in one.
Yeah, right. Well, you could, I could repeat some.
Well, first off, to let people know that my background is in financial services. I've been doing it for 29 years.
Yes.
And the biggest part of my job is counseling, especially marriage counseling. Actually dealing with the money issues and putting together the budget and the credit and the insurance and all of that stuff. That's easy. Right. Where the biggest issues are getting people to have open and honest conversations with themselves about money, with their partners about money. Money is a more taboo subject than sex.
Oh, wow.
So getting people to open up about it and face their fears, because there's more shame, guilt, disappointment, terror around the subject of money than pretty much anything else. And you can't get away from money. It is absolutely everything in our current society.
Yeah.
So it affects everything. It affects your health. It affects your relationships. It affects your job. It affects your kids, all sorts of things. And it's not necessarily always a bad thing, but because we don't talk about it and there is so much shame that, like I said, it affects everything, absolutely everything.
Yeah. I could see that. I think finances does and play a big role in all relationships, right? Yeah. And addressing it is really important. So is that what when you mention that, is that what you mean by it's a taboo, that people feel like I can't discuss this?
Yeah, that's a very large part about it. And how our society is set up, that you're not supposed to talk about it. It's becoming a bit more acceptable now. But when I was growing up, the only financial education I got from my parents was don't go into debt. And that was about it. Okay. That was it. And it's not my parents never talked about money. It was always tight. I grew up not poor. Yeah, no, it was poor. We always had a roof over our head. We always had food and stuff like this, right. But money was always very, very tight. And I know that my parents definitely had some conversations about it, but we have no idea as kids. And if I'd ever asked a question, my father would have cuffed me across the table. How dare you? That's none of your business. We do not talk about that. And that was quite common. And in a lot of cases, it still is, other than being cuffed across the table. You can tell I grew up in the 70s.
Yeah, I don't, as you mentioned that, I don't remember it being a conversation at the table in my family either. But honestly, as a kid, I don't even think that I really even cared to know.
Well, no, because it was just
like,
everything was
whatever.
looked after for you. And if you got some spending money to go get some candy or whatever, that was it. And if you were lucky and things were good and your parents weren't constantly like fighting right in front of you about it, you never had to think about it as a kid. But then we have so many of these kids that are growing up, and then we're sending them off to college. They have no knowledge of anything in the real world. A lot of them don't know how to make toast because their parents have done everything for them. And they have no idea about budgeting or money or anything like that. What do you mean? It just doesn't come off of this magic plastic card that I put into the machine. And then they're getting hit on for like every credit card and signed up for student loans and all of this stuff because they don't know what it is that they're doing in a lot of cases. And it just puts them in this horrible cycle of debt and fear. And then they can't be buying homes or getting married or having kids or any of this stuff because they're trapped.
So with talking about finances, do you think it's a gender role or is identified as a gender role, or has there been talk about, who does? I know things are probably shifting now, but what is your take on that?
Well, what I've been seeing is no, it's not a gender role. A lot of people would say that women are a lot worse with money. No, they're not. Anybody that's actually actively involved with their money does perfectly fine. And like I said, I've been in financial services for coming up on 30 years.
Right.
And what I have seen through my history of working with small business owners and families and individuals and all of this stuff is it has nothing to do with gender. It has to do with, are you actively involved? Because I've sat down with couples where the husband goes, my job is to make the money and she looks after everything and she gives me an allowance and stuff like this.
Right.
And then I've sat down with couples where the husband looks after everything and the wife goes, that's his job. And then there's ones where they're both involved. And then there's ones where they're both clueless. It's not a gender thing. It's everybody's an individual and every relationship is its own little world.
That's awesome. So just tapping into, so we're all about diverse businesses and entrepreneurs. And when I say diverse, we talk about women, minorities, LGBTQ, and veterans. Have you seen any disconnect, disadvantages, or anything in your 20 years of working with entrepreneurs, or starting in finance that you've seen wasn't a fair playing field when it is come to finance, or, entrepreneurs getting funding for their business, that kind of thing?
Yes, that I have definitely seen. The old boys club is very real, especially in my industry, the old boys, because it's all about connections and biases and perceptions and stuff. So it's much harder for women to get financing. It's much harder for minorities. It's much harder for disabled or LGBT, tongue-tied. You know who I'm talking about.
Yes.
And all of this. It is starting to slowly make a change because there's been a concentration on, okay, we do need to fix this, but it's still got a long ways to go. And the sad thing is, like, women-run businesses are typically 3 times more successful than one started by a man.
Right.
Like the numbers are in our favor. Like, I don't know what the numbers are for LGBTQ or ones like that, but like you said, just looking at the numbers for women started businesses versus men started businesses, women usually succeed at a rate like 300% more, which sounds absolutely amazing. But if you know how dismal the failure rate is for the first 2 years, that's still pretty bad. But one of the things that I have found through, like I said, decades of experience is women start businesses because they're going, you know what, I have to. I can't go out and get a job because I've got childcare issues or I've been at home for so long that I like getting back into the workforce is hard and I have to feed my kids.
Right.
So they start and they play small and consistent. Like if you're talking baseball, they're going single, 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 single. They get around the base. They don't typically hit your home runs, but they're very consistent. Where men have a different mindset, usually, not always, but usually, where they'll swing for the fence. And if they connect and it goes great, it's a win. And if they don't, oh, well, I'll be up again.
Yes.
I'm not saying one is right or the other, but said the slow and consistent way that women do things, they're going, I will take much more smaller calculated risks, because if I strike out, is there going to be food on the table for my kids?
Right. Exactly.
And even if we've got dads there, they look at it differently. Moms are very security based, because they're going, I need to make sure there's a roof over my kid's head and there's food on the table. Anything else is superfluous. And yes, it's nice, but as long as the kids are fed and they're in a safe place, that's number one.
Right. I mean, I agree. I do see some small changes. And just to piggyback on what you're saying is how women are consistent and they're more successful starting a business, and men are so risky. So why do they, I understand the whole boys club, old boys club, because I dealt with that in my corporate experience. So why do you think that it's easier for men to get it then, if the women, and I'm sure there's some sort of statistics someplace showing that they're more consistent and longevity, and then the men just taking that fight or flight risk and just, like, this is what I want to do. So why do you think that it's still a challenge for women to get funding or more opportunities versus men?
Well, a lot of it is from what I see is men are more confident, because if you look at how we raise little girls versus little boys, boys, it's all about what they do and taking the risks and playing the sports, where girls, it's all about, oh, are you pretty? And you're supposed to be nice and you're supposed to be quiet and you're supposed to look after everyone else. And we're still seeing that. And super feminist women like myself, and I'll still catch myself doing little things like that and going, and it's because it's our whole society. So a man will step up and they'll look for it, and they're going, they'll go for the funding and stuff like that. And it's like, if a woman is strong and determined, she's a bitch. If a man is strong and determined, he's just confident and he knows what he wants, and he's a leader, where a woman is a bitch. Yes. Where some of us don't mind being a bitch. We will go out and bitch.
Speak your truth, have your voice.
Yeah. But society and like everything about us, women are supposed to be nice. Smile, you'd be prettier. And all of this stuff. And we're supposed to pull ourselves back, where men don't have that. They are socialized from birth very, very differently. And while we are making progress on all of these things, we are still way behind the game. And then, like I said, when you start bringing in the other issues that come with minorities, our system is very, very racist. And I'm coming from Canada, and my system isn't quite as bad, but we still have that crap here too. We have to face it and we have to deal with it. The LGBTQ, it's very much coming to the surface, and we're talking about it more, especially the trans stuff now, but it's still
not accepted.
The bias, even one of the things, so my husband and I are very, very progressive, and we've done a few, there's trying to remember what it was, but there's a little psychological test that you can take to find out your hidden biases on how you judge people. And we both did it. And like I said, we like to think of ourselves as very progressive, very equality. And we automatically, just because of how we're doing it, yes, we're biased. And the first point of getting over that is being aware that you are. But we have to keep, like I said, we have to have the conversations about all of these things, especially money, so that we can get over it. Like trying to pretend that it doesn't exist, that it's all fixed, that we're perfect, that we don't have biases, is just creating a bigger freaking problem.
Exactly. I agree 100% with you. And just to go back to what you said about women and the confidence, Yeah, because women are, some of them are lacking that because they feel that they're not going to get the same opportunities. But I want to empower women and say, you have a voice, let people hear you, get out, no matter
But
how.
here's another one. It's not even, a lot of the time the women are holding themselves back and they don't even realize it. It's not that they're conscious, like sometimes it is very conscious,
Yes.
but a lot of the time they don't even realize all the bullshit that they've got running around in their head that's holding them back. Or women will hide behind perfectionism more and things like, no, it's not that I don't want to do it, but it's just not quite good enough yet. Exactly. Where a man goes, typically, if he's got 60% of it, he will go for it. Where a woman goes, like I was just reading an article yesterday on what, like, a woman will not submit an application for a job unless she meets like 100% of their requirements in a lot of the cases, where a man goes, I've got half of it, I'll try.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
So if the men with 50% are trying, and the women that have 90%, but you know what, I don't have that one thing, so I'm not good enough, it's not perfect, so I'm not putting in. Well, no wonder the men are getting the jobs, because women aren't even putting their name in the hat, because they're going, I don't have 100% of the requirements. So if I've only got men with 50% and I've got one that's got 65, well, I'm going to have to hire him because I don't have any better options, because the better options didn't even put their name in the hat.
Wow. Yes. Wow. So, I mean, it's so disheartening that all this is still happening, and it's just been, small changes, but things are just not, changing as, it should. And the support is not there for, a lot of women and minority companies there. So what work do you think needs to be done for change?
Oh, there's a lot of work that needs to be done for change, because it's not just one thing. It very rarely is one thing. This is why you have to have different people with different skill sets and abilities working on the problem, because it's a great big puzzle piece. One of the things that needs to be done is more of what you and I are doing right now, having the open, honest conversations. Another one of the things that I'm working on and reading an awful lot about is people in privileged positions, like myself, as a successful pasty white woman, needs to invite people like other women, minorities, people with disabilities, LGBTQ, the veterans, whoever. We need to bring them up to the stage, give them the mic, and sit our asses down and shut up.
Love it. Let's do it. That's a good direction.
And the networking and getting to know more people. When, like, I've been doing a lot of podcasts, and one of the many things I love is how many wonderful, interesting, intelligent, incredible, positive shit disturbers I'm meeting all around the world, and then introducing them to one another so that they can be talking. We need to be lobbying for legal changes to things.
Yes.
Because it's not just the private sector. A lot of the legal stuff needs to be changed, and we need to give people that have been held back. It's not just they weren't even invited to, they weren't at the table. They were not allowed to come to the table. And we did everything we possibly could to make sure they couldn't get to the table. And heaven forbid, if they broke the rules and got in, let's make it as awful for them as possible. And that definitely includes the women and the minorities and the LGBT and the disabilities and all of this stuff. We need to be giving them a boost to even think about getting to equality.
That inclusivity, why does it have to be based on anything but being human, right? So thank you for sharing that. And thanks for being so raw. I mean, hey, we're disrupting the day, right?
Sorry, I don't candy coat. Should I tone it down a bit?
No, I want you to be your authentic self. This is great. But I love what you said about, like you said, you identified yourself to invite those people, put them on stage. You have the door, you have the stage. open it up to others that don't actually have that opportunity. And that might seem like a small step, but it could be a big step to making change. So thank you for saying that and sharing that. So here's a couple of questions that I want to ask you just to dive deeper into Tammy's world. So what is something people seem to misunderstand about you?
Well, this is, I typically get mistaken for being a Mormon until I open my mouth. Because I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do any drugs. Like I'm pretty boring when it comes, but then I start talking, they go, oh, there's no way. But if they just go, well, like I said, I don't drink, I don't do any of that stuff.
Yeah.
They go, oh, she must be pretty straight-laced. And going, oh, no, not a chance.
I mean, there's a lot of people that don't drink, smoke, and all that. So that's not fair.
I just think it's very, very funny because I have a lot of Mormon friends and Mormon clients and stuff.
Okay.
And they're, oh yeah, are you Mormon or were you raised Mormon? No. But you don't like, I don't even do like Coke or anything like that. So they're going, you're pretty straight, and going, no. So there's a funny one for you.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. So the next question I want to dive into is, what is the failure that you most cherish? What failure in life that you most cherish?
Oh, that's a hard one because I've had lots of failures in my years. If anybody who's actually out there doing something is going to have some really big failures.
What's your most cherished or close to it?
Well, it's kind of a toss up, but I think probably the one that I will go with, my failure. So what got me starting my business was I was fired. And I was fired from a job I absolutely hated. And I was already looking for another job, interviewing one more week, and I would have been just to another job. And then I got called into the office and I was fired. And most people would go, that's like a massive failure. That never happened to me before. Like I'm a very hard worker. I'm perfectionist, all of this stuff. But because I was so absolutely miserable where I was, and if I hadn't been fired, like I said, I just would have gone to another job. But when he was canning my ass, I just felt this great big weight being lifted off of my shoulders. And I'm going, I never have to work for another creepy, incompetent old man again. I'm starting my own business.
Good for you. It sounds like it was a blessing.
Oh, it was. It was. Like, I still would have probably started my business, but it would have taken me a few more years and a lot more pain in the ass and all of this stuff. But when he fired me, and it, like I said, I didn't know I didn't know it was happening. I wasn't all that surprised because, like I said, I was absolutely miserable. It was a horrible place. But I just basically I started having the biggest smile on my face, and I started laughing. And it like totally and completely disarmed him because he did not expect that at all. And I'm just going, I don't have to do this anymore. I can actually take control of my life. And it wasn't just like literally that moment. Like, I'd had so many people over the years, because I'd already been in the industry for almost 10 years. And I've had so many people go, why don't you start your own business? Like, why don't you go into sales? Like, you'd be really, really good at it and all of this stuff. And I kept saying, well, no, because when I started in my industry, I was 19 years old. And I don't know if you've noticed, I'm blonde with boobs. So nobody's going to be talking to a 19-year-old blonde woman about their finances. Like, I know how reality works. So I wanted to get, like, I got the experience and stuff. And plus, I'm an introvert. The idea of doing sales, especially things like selling life insurance, like, are you kidding me? But
wait, did you just say you were an introvert?
Oh, I'm a massive introvert, and that's another one that people don't understand. They're going, because you're
so
good at talking,
like,
and I teach and I have no problem being on the stage. As introvert means I need enough quiet time. People tire me out. Like, I can do this, but after a day, I'm going like, please.
I got it. I think there's very levels to being introverted, and I don't think people really understand that. So, when they
it's how you recharge.
Yeah, you have to. But yeah, that's awesome. That story you just shared. But I'm happy you got fired, Tammy.
So, like I said, so am I. Like, it was it was, a lot of people would say it was a failure, and I had to come home and tell my husband, and then even worse, I had to tell my mother, who's very loving and supporting, but she's an employee that worked at the same hospital for 42 years until she retired. And when I left my first job, that was with a big company, and I was being forced to sign up for pension. I said, I'm not signing up for pension. I've already given my 2 weeks notice. That stressed her out. But the idea of like giving up a job completely, like, are you insane, my child?
I get it, because that's how my parents are. They're like, you're doing what? You're leaving this really good job, a 9 to secure paycheck, to be an entrepreneur. I up to this day, and I've been doing it so long, I still don't think they get it. They're supportive, and they're just like, oh, how things going, but they don't understand it or get it. But
it took my mom about 9 years to get it, and now she likes it, because like I said, my first 2 years were really, really hard.
Yeah.
But after that, now so I don't have to ask anybody who I want to take time off or vacation. I eat what I kill. If you've seen the size of my ass, you know that I eat well.
I love it. Like your sign in the background, it says, be the artist of your own life.
Yeah.
And that's what you're actually doing, right? So thank you for sharing that. So let's go to the next question I have for you. If you can go back 5 years in your life, what advice would you give yourself?
Oh, 5 years?
5 years, yeah. So you're already deep into your business now.
Yeah, I've already been running my business for 15 years. So if I'm going back just 5 years. Mm-hmm. So in 2019, I split my business into two. So I've always focused on self-employed small business owners. I've always done the business coaching and consulting and stuff, but I always did it under the umbrella of my personal financial business. So if I'm going back 5 years, I would have split it earlier, and I would have started working on learning a lot more about the online space, because I'm very good at what I do. I don't have a problem with marketing, but it's always been like face-to-face and networking and different things like that. And now in our world, especially because with COVID and all of this stuff, it's all the online, and I'm always for learning, but oh my God, has my learning curve been steep, like with learning about like Facebook ads and all the different ways of doing social media. And every time you think you've got it figured out, they change all the algorithms. Like, oh my God, this hurts my brain. So if I'm going back 5 years, that's what I would be getting myself going on. I'm going, you need to be learning more about like the online marketing and this space, because now I'm doing all of my stuff online. Like Zoom is wonderful, and I've got clients all over the world, and this is great, but I would have started going after it
a long time
concentrated much earlier. Like that would have been 3 years earlier.
Yes, COVID and this whole now transitioning to online has very, very much hit a lot of small businesses, and having to get that learning curve, that pivot, that, all that stuff in it. That's why I tell because that's what we do. My company is, we promote digital transformation, because that's where our community is about. It's all about digitalizing your business now, because if you don't, and I used to say in the next 5 years, but honestly, in the next 2 years, if you're not doing some sort of digital marketing or digitalizing your brand, you're not going to exist in the future.
Well, the first thing anybody does when they're looking at a business or whatever is phone or computer. I'm old, so I like the computer. I don't know how people can do stuff on their phone. Screen's too damn small. But
91% of shoppers, of people reading or watching podcasts, anything is on the mobile app.
Yeah. And like I'm an oddball, because like I said, I've got my computer set up, and I'm old, so I like to be able to see it.
That's all.
Everybody, no matter how they're doing it, like they're doing like iPad or their phone or their computer, if you do not have a digital footprint, even if you're like a plumber that only works in your geographical area, no digital footprint, you don't bloody exist.
No, you don't. And people really, really, truly need to understand. So Tammy, this has been so amazing. So tell us about your business, this 20-year success you've had, and what your powerful, your superpower is with dealing with everyone.
So I am the hold your hand and kick your ass business coach. That's what my clients have named me, because I am on a mission to help more small businesses succeed. So I specialize in working with solopreneurs, small businesses, as early in the journey as possible, like idea stage up to 2 years in business, because that's where the learning curve is the sharpest, and that's where the failure rate is the absolute highest. And that just totally and completely breaks my heart, because you've got great people that have wonderful products or services that are working their ass off, because their failure is very, very rarely ever has anything to do with their product or service isn't good. It's the simple fact that they do not have the basic foundational business skills that they need to build a successful business around their product or service. And the basics of business are the same. Doesn't matter what your industry is. If it's product, service, it doesn't matter language. It doesn't matter country. There's the 8 basics. When you have those, your chances of success go way up. If you are missing any of them, and the more of them that you're missing, the chances of failure are way, way higher. And small business is where it is. Small business is providing 68% of the jobs. And that means solopreneur to a maximum of 10 employees. It's not the big mega corporations. It's not the Microsofts. It's not the Apples. It's not the Amazons that are providing the jobs, especially the good jobs. It's the little people. And we're the ones that are looking after our customers. We're the ones that are looking after our families, our communities. And we're the ones that are paying the damn taxes, because Amazon sure as hell ain't.
Right, exactly. Small businesses, small to medium-sized businesses and will continue to be the driving force of our economy. So thank you for what you do and all your brilliance. And closing, what advice would you give to a new entrepreneur starting off their journey in today's world?
in today's world, the number one thing is find yourself a really, really good business coach that's appropriate for where you are. There's wonderful business coaches. I work with them. I've taken their courses and stuff. But one of the biggest problems I see now is there's so many, because we're supposed to niche, we're supposed to specialize. I call them ologists. And you need a really good generalist to start off with. And that's where I focus. That's going to teach you the basics, because if you're going, I've got pain, I need to get this looked after. If you're going, okay, well, I'm seeing this cardiologist. Oh, well, no, they're not the one that I need for it. No, I'm going to go to an oncologist. No, I've spent a lot of time and money there. No, that still hasn't fixed it. I'm going to go to the proctologist. That still isn't going to fix it. Now I'm out of time, money, and I'm broke. You need to have a good family doctor that can help you diagnose and look after the general health. And then if you need somebody more specialized, to then go to them, because you have to have that foundation before you start decorating your living room. And the big coaches I'm seeing now are all about social media marketing. Yes, marketing is absolutely important. Yes, social media is a way of doing it. But if that's where you're putting all your time and effort, and you don't have your systems, you don't have your advisory team, you don't understand your financials, you don't have your habits put together, you're just going to hit the wall faster. You have to be getting a good, solid, basic, foundational education. Then once you're past the 2-year mark, which is where most of your business coaches want you anyways, then you can look at building. But you have to have the floor first.
Yes. Well, thank you for that. So, Tammy, it has been a pleasure having you on Disrupt Your Day. I really, truly enjoyed the conversation with you. Thank you for being so open and honest. I love it. Thank you, everyone who's watching today, tomorrow, or whenever. Don't forget to subscribe and continue to follow us. All Tammy's details will be in the description, how you could reach her if you're looking for a pretty raw coach and someone that knows her stuff, right? she hasn't been in business for this long if she didn't. So again, thank you everyone for joining us. We really appreciate the support and have a great day. Thank you for listening and letting us disrupt your day. Make sure and subscribe to our podcast. For the latest entrepreneur buzz, please sign up for our newsletter. The link is in the description. Remember, be the change you want to see in the world. Until next time.